Evening everyone, Croeso. Welcome, it's me Ross, Britain's Hidden History number 116, and they said it would never last. Take it away, Anne. What's it tonight? Tchaikovsky, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, we're going a bit upmarket, we're going very classy here. Right, evening all. Who is first on tonight? Let's have a look. Scouse Blarney. Ross, have you seen the article in the Daily Post today about a massacre of Druids on Ynys Môn? And I wonder if it is true, if different ideas regards Dave. Well, I imagine they talked, I think it was Polentius, wasn't it? The Roman general who was supposed to go up there and absolutely, he was so brave, those Roman soldiers. They were terribly brave. They were faced by some unarmed women and some old men who shrieked a lot and were really scary, and the men were terrified, but finally they got it together and slaughtered them all. That's probably the story it's being referred to. I'm not sure if they were Druids though. Curious one. Slight sidetrack immediately. I'm starting the show with sidetracking, because curiously in all the accounts they're wearing black, which is not a Druidic colour, so they could well be Essenes, I think, early Christians, but there you go. And the reason the Romans are so keen to kill them was to stop the spread of Christianity. There we go. Right, evening all. We all know who else had 6 wives. Yes. Thank you very much. The Great Griff. Yep, just checking. The Great Griff. Thank you, Arnie. Yep, thank you very much. You can see the beautiful Eglwys Hill behind me, which not yet covered in windmills, wind turbines, or electricity factories, as I prefer to call them. Right, evening all. Yes, so thank you. Yes, we do know who else had 6 wives, and this is what suddenly struck me. I've been reading through the Wilson and Blackett stuff again, because I just love it, and I was going to do something about the wives, and it suddenly struck me, yes, he's got 6 wives. How curious is that? And it gets even more curious when you look at how do you put it politely, how the various relationships ended. I think we all know the saying of Henry VIII, divorced, let's get it right now, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived, for the 6 wives. It's a little bit like that with this, although that seems to be how it's been packaged up. This is why I'm going to take things a little bit further tonight, because if you're new to this channel, what I like to do is take writers, mostly Wilson and Blackett, but not just them. There's Commons, Beaumont and Fomenko and Velikovsky and various other people, writers and historians who just don't, or even though they produce amazing work, they've disappeared from our knowledge, or they've just been pushed out or suppressed. And then it's interesting to look at what they had to write, but then like to try to take it a little bit further and piece together the other bits we know, because in this group, the more we're learning, all of us together, the more we're discovering how things tie in, and let's try and get a real picture of what really happened, right? So I'll say a few more hellos, so people are logging in. Good to see numbers going up all the time. So you're very welcome. It's your first time, don't worry, it all goes from scratch. Gary Taylor, always good there. Marshall Abrahams, good evening. Marshall, yes, you now have a big spanner, so you can help with the administration, all that. So please remember, it's a Sunday evening, family-friendly show. Keep it all nice and friendly and polite. Dim sweario. Still emotionless here. Yeah, it's a beautiful evening here, actually. It's just perfect, I would say. It's just starting to cloud over a bit in this rain forecast tomorrow, but right now this is just as lovely as an evening can get. It has been hot. What's wrong with hot? People pay a fortune every year to go abroad for hot. Britain gets hot and suddenly it's a panic. Oh, hang on, my computer's just playing up. Right, hello Ian Briggs. Evening, Alan Rees. He's the master sword maker, and I need to auction another one of those beautiful wooden Arthurian Rex swords again soon. It's been sitting there, and I need to do it. Croeso, I can't quite read that. Flum's head. God, my eyes tonight, what's wrong with me? I think the screen's a bit dim. Are we definitely plugged in? It's not going to suddenly batteries go dead. Andrew Whelan, Tropical, Independent, Tropical Mertha. Is at the Shell garage today, filled up the car and the knowledge to my ear. I can hear the shareholders laughing at me. Right, okay, my rig with Mystic Gavin Lloyd. Now, before we go any future, hello, Mr. PH30, baking hot in the Midlands, Marshall, yeah, isn't it lovely? Ian Briggs, right, there's lots of chat going on there. good to see it. Lovely, friendly. It's wonderful. I'm just so flattered and overawed. There's people who come every show and never miss a video, and people are going back through them all and catching up. And it's great. And if you look on the channel, if there's something you're particularly looking for, just type in the location or the name on the search feature. I'll show it when we get to one of the bits tonight, and then you can find it, because there's almost 500 videos now and very nearly 5,000 subscribers, which is just like poof. Now, I just thought, before I start, I'm going to read from a book which is this is called Arthur and the Charters of the Kings. It's one of Wilson and Blackett's original books. I think about 1982, I think. I should know, shouldn't I? It's supposed to be their publisher. It's signed by them. 1980, copyright 1980, first printed 1981. That's back when they were living in Cardiff. First of all, get chased out of town, really. And I just want to bear with me. I want to read this passage because I think it does a really good job. One of the points I try to get across is that this is not an anti-English channel. It's not a master race channel. It's not a nationalistic, anything like that. It's purely quite, can we have our history back, please? This is what history used to be. And in particular, it mentions why Arthur was so important. This book is really underestimated and overlooked. And I think it's because the title, The Charters of the Kings, I mean, can you imagine a more boring title? And there's so much more in it, and there's so much history in it. There you go. It's we've still got a few left in stock if you're trying to get them, all right? Right, so I'm going to read this first bit. It's not too long. So, because it is a good introduction about Arthur and also about what we're doing, what Britain's hidden history is all about. Right. In this book, we present the evidence of several old sources of ancient Welsh records. Not the usual medieval record of the North Wales princes, but of the earlier kings of South Wales, and particularly South East Wales. We intend to show how their record has lived on down through the centuries. It can be demonstrated to be consistent, coherent, logical, and true. And where proof is occasionally made possible, it is provable as well. Out of all this comes the tale of a warrior society of a heroic age. The age known romantically as that of Camelot. Through the dim mists of time emerges the greatly loved and eternally remembered Arthur, the British king, valiant and unconquerable. It was Arthur who made Britain what it is today. For his victories made certain that the invasions of the migrating German tribes, commonly referred to as Saxons, whereas they are also Angles, Jutes, Frisians, others, would not result in wholesale massacres and genocide. So I was saying there's this mythical idea that the Anglo-Saxons came and just killed everybody, or this other crazy idea, which seems to be the most popular one in history books, that the Britons were driven, like some sort of sheepdog pushing the sheep, and they all got squashed into the west, and there's more and more of them. It's nothing like that, okay? Anyway, so instead, the migration into and across Britain was made slow and less violent. There was no great monster massacre with the British fleeing west into the mountains. Instead, there was a process of infiltration, integration, and assimilation. The Saxons eventually dominated what is now England, but there was no Holocaust. The result was a surviving British population actually outnumbered the militarily dominant Saxons. This means that whilst the Welsh unquestionably are of the blood descent of the ancient Britons, as was Arthur, so also the people of England carry a very substantial proportion of that same blood in their veins. There was a change of overlordship, leadership and rule in England, but the great slaughter of the British by the new Saxon people never happened. The people of England are therefore in the same way the inheritors of Arthur, who lived in South East Wales as present kings and queens live in Windsor. They are also therefore the heirs and inheritors of the history, the traditions, the culture and heritage of the British, for there was a time when their ancestors spoke the same tongue. The ancient triads of the Welsh, in fact, record 7 great migratory movements into Britain, the fifth of which seems to be the migration of the people of South Wales from Byzantium or Constantinople around 500 to 450 BC. This was known as the coming of the dragon. Important. The 6th invasion was that of the Romans in 43 AD, and the 7th and the last was that of the Saxons beginning around 375 AD, quite early, and onwards. This mixing and intermingling of the races in England we discuss more fully in The Origins of Arthur, which is a book which I've never seen appear, but I'm trying to get all the notes together to work out exactly what's supposed to be in that, and I will be seeing Alan and Barham again in the next few weeks. What it really means is that the Englishman has to do what the Welshman does. When a Welshman sees the great tomb cairns piled high on the hills of Glamorgan above Margam, or as one just off camera, just over there, and all through the central area, he knows that they are the tombs of the kings of his ancestors, just as an Egyptian knows that the old pharaohs built the pyramids. Now the Englishman has to relearn to say, our ancient ancestors built this, when he views Stonehenge and Avebury, which, funny enough, I was at this week with author Robert Langdon and all-round expert and surveyor Bob Morgan, and the three of us looked into this whole idea of Avebury, Wanstead being a canal, and why Avebury was built and all that kind of stuff, and it's fantastic. Books by Robert Langdon will be available soon, and you'll see a great video, so look out for that. So yes, thank you, I am feeling better. All those people have been sending me get well messages and asking. I am 100% fully fit again. So there we go. Anyway, so that some other bygone or previous people did the job. No, for only along parts of the south coast and in Kent were the stories of the elimination of the indigenous British population true. In Wales, the preservation of Welsh place names has meant the preservation of the signposts and indicators of the history of the country. And a huge number of place names in England and Scotland which can still be worked out using the Welsh is phenomenal. You'd be amazed. For a start, anything with LY on the end, Lee, is probably a court, a reference to an old court. All right, there's lots more examples if you give it a chance. So it is not enough to tell people in Britain as a whole that these, along with the language and culture, should be preserved. It is necessary to tell them the reasons why. And it is necessary to tell them that this heritage belongs also to them, though they do not speak one single damn word of the tongue, and neither can they pronounce it. I have trouble with some of the Welsh words myself. Neither of the joint authors, as Wilson and Blackett, of these books speaks Welsh. Although Alan does speak a bit of Welsh. I'm learning some Welsh, but I don't actually speak Welsh either. We do it all the hard way, using dictionaries, translations, and so on. To us, the language has done its job and fulfilled its function. What it must not do is be a cause which divides and differentiates between people, neither Welsh people from each other, nor from the English and others. In this book, we have arranged and presented a group of well-known, well-authenticated, genuine manuscripts. This is the charters part. We've arranged them into their proper order for the first time and explained them. We've interpreted them correctly by correlating and putting them into a correct timescale to tell the story of the British kings of South Wales and to identify the elusive and magnetic Arthur. These ancient documents form a very vital and important part of the history of the Dark Age Britain, and if they are properly explained and fitted into the proper context of the Arthurian age, then we can begin to understand ourselves and what we are today. Alright, so that's where we're coming from. Alright, trouble is I'm sitting out here, I've got one of these little, what do you call it, garden furniture tables. It's just not big enough to put anything on. I don't have my library or my shelves to lean over, but I think it's worth it, isn't it? It's nice to be in the fresh air. I hope you like it. Just a few comments on that, so hope you're enjoying that. Here we go. We got Henry VIII having 6 wives is reasonable. Yes, right. Okay, anyway, let's crack on. So before we got into our main story about what happened with Arthur and his wives, how many Arthurs, how many wives? This is the question. How many Arthurs might actually... I'm sure it'll surprise you a bit, really. Hang on, right, how do I start this? Okay. Alright, so there's the heading thing, all very pretty. We'll get on to the... I've said 6 wives there, it's a bit of a trick in a way, because there's... might be more, there might be less. Alright, but 6... The parallels between Arthur's 6 wives and story of Henry VIII is quite surprising. Anyway, come on to that when we get to it. All right, yeah. Just want to say with the last week, I'm very sorry. When we were setting it up, so I still wasn't that well last week, and the boys and everything did it for me, did a great job, brilliant, got the show running, up and running. But they had clicked the add revenue on button, which is why if you're watching it on playback, you get all these interruptions. My general policy is, obviously there's no adverts Sunday evening live, but if any videos you watch, there'll be a video at the beginning that you can skip, only the skippable ones, and a video at the end. Alright, so please try and sit through them and click a link if you can. But I'm not one of these people who puts ads all the way through the videos and puts the long ad. Not trying to maximise the revenue at all there. It's the absolute minimum, really. And if I put no advertising at all, then we have a... Is that a dog or something? Then we have... it doesn't come up on the search engines, so I hope you understand it's the minimum. Just to give you an idea, the average video, I think I worked out the other day, makes about £1.47. So there we are. In case you wondering, we're always millions of pounds of ad revenues going, right? So the members keep this going, right? The Patreon supporters, people who sign up for this, and the people who make their gifts, all right? They're the ones who keep it going. And buy the books. These are all for sale from the Hieroglyphics website. Arthurius Rex, should be quoting from a lot. The Charters, Arthur, King of Glamorgan and Gwent. Right, okay, I'm just giving this a quick plug. Richard Davis, who just does not stop, I tell you. The amount he does in Cwmbran, he's transforming that town by himself. There was things on this weekend, sadly I couldn't make it, including the opening of this gallery, which is open every week from then on, which is great. New gallery. And Richard's help, he does the litter picks every Sunday. There's been a historical thing today. Wonderful. You got Johnny up in, Johnny Nigma as he calls himself, doing a similar thing up in Brecon. He's even the mayor. People like that make life worthwhile. So try and get involved. Try and do things, all right? That's good. I've lost the link for this one. I was a bit of a rush putting things together. So I have to come back to that next week. But thank you for the person who sent me this. There's a huge pile of history about the Baths, bardism, from a, Glastonbury perspective. And I was pleasantly surprised how close most of it was. So there we go. Oh, yeah, some bad news. Presentation of art, August 27th. While I'm now fully fit and recovered from my various bits and pieces, sad news is that Hugh Evans is not well. He's I can't go into the details, but he will not be back in or well enough in time to do the presentation. So we're looking at a new date, probably in September or something. It might be better anyway. Although I do want to have people come down earlier in the day and go to Morganstown and see a bit more of the Orion constellation, because I think that will fit in brilliantly. And I'll let you in a little secret. Someone called Len Crowther has discovered what I would call the missing foot from Orion, and suddenly the map works perfectly. So where I'm sitting, you can't quite see, but I'll do a special video on this. I've got the belt of Orion that way, and I've got the feet. I can almost see the foot actually just over that hill there, which is, it's a bit weird being right in the middle of it, because then where I used to play as a child, that starts to become, I think the boys are laughing because I've told them the story, and it's very funny. I'm going to have to, I can't tease you like that, can I? Well, I'll say a little bit about it's called the Monkey Tub, where I play. It's actually in the book Discover the Ark of the Covenant, the first time I'd seen the name Tonteg in print, which is where we are. And no one really knows where the word name Tonteg comes from. I think Ton is town and Teg is beautiful. It's the beautiful town, it's a bit meaningless. Actually, I think it's all about the mound, which is called Tywyn y Clawdd, and it's said to be a Motte and Bailey Norman castle, which clearly isn't, because surrounded by overlooking hills and things. I mean, you can stand, 50, 60 yards away and chuck stones in all day, you know? It's a disaster militarily. Whereas, if you work it all out, it is, see I'm laughing now, on Orion, it's the tip of the sword. And I was explaining what the word...
You can stop there.
You can stop there, it's like we take it off YouTube. I was explaining that a sword is a euphemism for a man's sword. And it's the tip of that, which is quite ironic, because I spent most of my childhood playing there. But anyway, the extra bit Len has found is brilliant. And what it's also done is, I must want to do the video, I've got to do it this week. You can see in the background, this hill, you can actually see that on the star map. And that gave me goosebumps. And then over this shoulder, you can work out where Polaris should be. And sure enough, that's the direction of the the Tri-Stone Polaris, if you search that in the videos. Spent quite a bit of time, because I wasn't very well, it was great. I spent time just looking at things like star maps and things, very relaxing, and suddenly, woof, the things that Len found that just leapt off. Now, the reason I have to keep it quiet at the moment, a little bit of a secret, hopefully going to make the film with Richard Hall when he's got a chance. When we get our diaries to mesh, we're making a special film like that. What's that, Stav?
Someone's asking, how
Yes?
many husbands did Lady Godiva?
Lady Godiva?
Have.
How many husbands did Lady Godiva have? Is this a joke or a trick question? I don't know. I'm not actually sure if Godiva was a real person. It's a sort of a star story, but go on, put the answer up whoever it was. So anyway, so I've given a few tasters there. But anyway, getting back to the more important thing, Hugh Evans, for everyone to send up their love and best energy, and want to see him well and soon. He's a bit bashed up at the moment, and yeah, we want to see him recover soon, and we'll put that back on. And I think doing the presentation at next to one of the star mounds in Morganstown, probably. Oh, by the way, just down there is where Castle Cork is. That's the red star in Orion. And Morganstown is that way. So it's a bit weird. I'm just sort of right in the middle of it here. All right, okay. Enough of that. Right, last chance to sign the petition. I'm going to close it tomorrow morning. So as you look, it's 522 signatures. I was hoping for more, but it's more than enough to get it considered. So we'll put that up. As you know, they're going to start sticking electricity farm on the hill behind me. The fact that Wales produces 3 times the energy it consumes and double or even triple the renewable energy already, it's mad. It's mad. Don't get me onto energy politics again. I need to move on from that. But they're going to... What people need to realise just quickly is it's not just the turbines, it's all the access roads, the quarrying, the transportation, absolutely destroys the hill. And when you do the actual working out, a wind turbine will never, ever, ever recoup the pollution and even the carbon that's expended in producing, transporting and erecting it and preparing the site. It'll never get that back. Because in about 15 to 20 years, they have to shut it down and landfill it. It's there we are. It's a calm that's appalling. Whoops, Savvy's got the comments. He's turned them so I can't see. So, oh yeah, yes, yeah, right, okay, a bit more of a cheerful one. Oh, get well soon, Hugh. Loads of great feedback on the Elvis video I put up during the week, explaining how the name Elvis Presley is a Welsh name, and he can trace it back. And it gets weirder and weirder and weirder, so thank you for all the comments and feedback. Here's one from some rather anonymous, but it's a regular viewer, so hello, you know who you are. Ross, hi, your St. Elvis video is very interesting and reminded me of reading about this a while back and a few connections that I made. The Irish called St. Ailbhew Elvis St. Ailbe. Now, Bob Morgan did do a lot of research on this, and he is the expert on the old lives of the saints and all that kind of thing. When I first did, if you remember, if you might have noticed, I put the Elvis video up and took it back down again quickly. That's because it had all that sort of technical stuff about the name and versions and Irish versions and Welsh versions, which isn't really the fun thing people watching the Elvis video might want to watch. So, yeah, I sold out, all right, I went for the pop list one. But yes, bang on, as said here. And I think, if you look at the Gaelic name, it's a bit longer than that. Because Gaelic, the spelling and pronunciation is mad. I mean, look at places like, if you look at the spelling, you got Dunlahochery, which is Dunleary. And I think, although it's spelt Ailbe, it's actually almost Elvis, if you say it as well. But anyway, we got from Ale is rock and BO is living rock. That's pretty cool. Living stone has interesting connotations when considering the blue stones from Preseli, and other sacred stones, e.g. the lapis niger of Rome. A sacred stone, the living quality, is often referred to as Betelgeuse. So we got Elvis and the Beatles. You couldn't make it up. It is a bit weird, isn't it? Why choose the name Beatles? Furthermore, I highly recommend Mark Devlin's Musical Truth, by the way. Oh, I really need to blow my nose, don't I? Furthermore, the mythical island off the coast of Ayr, called Hy Brasil, also came to mind, as Brazil can mean High King. So Elvis being the king connection, of course. It may also refer to the rock of the mythical island, who knows. Last point. according to the life of St. David, St. Elvis is reported to have baptised... Elvis is reported to have baptised David in Munster Island. Well, that's a little bit different. I wasn't sure. Okay, alright. I need to check. There was a lot about this from Bob. And I will put up that video as well. The more sort of academic type one, if you like. In addition, St. Cesog, patron saint of Scotland, before Andrew, is said to hail from Munster. I wonder if this is significant. We've got the Munsters. Cesog. Is Cesog of Britain too, I wonder? I'm a private person. Hope an email's okay. Yes, it's lovely. Thank you very much. Bessie's wishes from Altcleet, which is Clyde Rock country. Clyde, that's Scotland, I guess. So thank you very much for that. And there's a fun one then. The other one, Brett Tamlin noticed that the place, if you're not aware, I mean, you should have seen the video already, but I know more people watch this than the short videos for some reason. And I was going to say, the biggest event's end of September. I think it's 22nd, 23rd September. So if you're anywhere near, tickets are probably gone, but it's the biggest Elvis impersonator get together, party, booze up, whatever you want to call it, sing along, is held in Porthcawl. I didn't think of Porthcawl, but as Brett was saying, you got Porth means the entrance, and a cowl, if you say Porthcawl, C-O-W-L, it's like the sort of cloak with a hat on it thing he wears. So you have Porthcawl, which is quite cool. It's better than anyway. When I looked up, I didn't think of looking up Porthcawl, but when you do, if you look up cowl, C-A-W-L, that means cabbage, which is not quite as exciting. And the door of the cabbage, not sure they get that. So I'm going to look a bit more and see if I can find another root for that word. You also have cowl, which is like a bowl of traditional Welsh soup. So there you go. Right, here's one. So I like to do a few stories. If you're new to the channel, do a few stories, short stories, and go on to the main thing, okay? Oh yeah, I have to share this story. Just bear with me a minute. We'll have to do the jiggy thing to get this. I've got it all queued up, hopefully. Please, please, please. Oh, there's the Whitland event, so I've got to get back to that. I tell you, I might just click on these, might be easier. Come on, I had all these pages ready. Yeah, here we go. This is... Right, hang on. This is the kind of mad story that you have to put up with. And this is Nation Cymru, right? This is supposed to be a, I don't know, Welsh nationalist type site. Together we are stronger, together make a difference. Meaningless political stuff.
Reached a climax when Pope Victor I contemplated...
Excuse me with that. Someone sent me that link to have a look at. So I'll try and do. Right. Go away. Right. Listen to this. This is how mad it is, right? Because if you're new to all this, everything in Britain is Roman, right? Even if there's no reason to suspect or think it's Roman, people just love things to be Roman. It's so weird. So one of the golden rules, if you follow these things, is that... some dessert. Oh, look at that. Oh, I mean, spot. Look at that. Remember good old-fashioned Angel Delight? Our family, just so you know, is like 1970s, still here. All right, there we are. There's Angel Delight. we just had bangers and mash with onion gravy and peas. Great, wasn't it? That was our Sunday dinner this week. Yeah, we all enjoyed that. And now we got Angel Delight for dessert. I can't have dairy, so it's non-dairy milk for anyone to taste. Anyway, getting back to this. Archaeologists reveal secrets of ancient roundhouse before it's claimed by the sea. Oh yeah, the golden rules of archaeology. If it's got straight edges, it's got to be Roman. And if it's round, it's British. Just saying that out loud makes me feel stupid. But that's a golden rule, okay? So thank you for this story. I do apologise for not putting your name out. The person who sent it to me might be on the slide. Yeah, I think it's on the slide, isn't it? So thank you. Listen to this now. Right, this is the madness. Oh, by the way, I hope you appreciate I've got the extra large cursor now. Look at that. I worked out how to do it. Because people say I couldn't see what I was pointing at. Right, the secrets, look at this, right, of a Romano-British roundhouse. This is a Welsh nationalist newspaper. Why is the word Romano there? Please, if someone from Nation Cymru, I think did actually contact me at one point to write an article. Romano-British roundhouse discovered within the North Wales Iron Age Welsh coastal hill fort are being revealed before they're swallowed up by the sea. So this is like emergency work. Please can we have some of this in South Wales as well? Like particularly Porthkerry, where there's an ancient castle. The whole castle is falling into the sea. There's only about half left. Less than half probably. Anyway, right, so we got this. So Romano-British implies after the Romans arrive, okay? And we're supposed to become Romans. What's this, right? So archaeologists are completing their evacuations on the cliffs above Dinas Dintla and now collecting valuable information gleaned about the historic site. It's thought as little as 50 years the roundhouses will fall into the sea. The entire hill fort could be gone within 500 years of the cliffs have been eroded away. Relentless battering of the tides. Right, so you got all the detail. Prehistoric, right? Look at this. According to the National Trust, the hill fort's defences and interior buildings are thought to have been first constructed in the late prehistoric period. I'm not sure you can have late and early prehistoric. It's either prehistoric or it's not, but there you go. So, within the site, the roundhouse is set in a dramatic location overlooking the Irish Sea and North Clean Peninsula. I mean, it is absolutely stunning, isn't it? I'd love to go up there. And if anyone's involved with the dig or helping out, well done, brilliant. I'd love to go up there as well. But the crazy thing is, if this is Neolithic, right? Why is it called Romano-British? I mean, it's just mad. The Romans probably never even went there. Oh, I hate this Romano-British thing. It's really starting to irk me because people have some weird thing is we're nationalistic for not liking it. An example, I was in a... Let's put me back on a second. An example I had just today on Facebook, wasting time, I should be doing more preparation on this, but anyway, it was relevant subjects. And I was saying, and they were saying, well, it's called Romano-British, or we were basically Roman, because we were within the Roman Empire for 400 years, which it's blatantly not true, even from the classical sources, which I might do next week, actually. How many years the Romans are here and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, even if we were, why do we become Romans or Romano-British? And then the period after the Romans left becomes the sub-Roman period. And people can't see why that might be offensive. So, well, think about the situations where a similar thing has happened. So when the British Raj was running India, do we call all the population of India Britanno-Indians? I mean, it's ridiculous. It would be offensive and no one would think about it. In the current situation we're in now, it's only, 1947 was it? The independence, or 49, right about then. So 70 odd years ago, which is well within, what would still be called sub-Roman, if it was Britain. So do we call India sub-British? I mean, it is just ludicrous, isn't it? It's, but there you go. There you go. Anyway, so far, items uncovered have included quern stone used for grinding flint, scrapers, doesn't sound very Roman to me, pottery shards, as well as domestic items such as a ladle, a mystery tool, and a Roman coin. Now, how did the coin get there, and is it Roman? I would love to see that coin, if someone can find it. Yes, Zav?
Do you want just your face of the actual thing that's seen?
Oh, thank you, Zav. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you, Zev. Not concentrating. Roman coin. We'll have one day production will go over to you boys and you'll be changing the camera angles and all sorts, and I'll be sitting here like some pampered BBC person. Alright, so of particular interest to experts is how the roundhouse was built and designed. It's unusually large and all this cool stuff, alright? So I put it in the description. You can see a link to the roundhouse. Please have a look and have a read of it. I think it's fun. Hang on, volunteer Ashley Smith. All the way from North Carolina. Wow. Doing an MA in Celtic archaeology. There's no Celts ever in Britain, right? I keep looking up the answer where the light is. There were never any Celts in Britain. Have a look. You will not find an ancient reference to Celts. The Celts in the south of France, these are Britons. In this case, probably Cymru, maybe Lloegr, maybe Gaels, not Celts. Anyway. He's doing an MA in Celtic archaeology at Bangor University. It's amazing all the people seem to be foreign on these things. I've really enjoyed being part of the project as a volunteer. Well done you, mate. I appreciate you coming over. I wanted to get involved because it's not only interesting, it's a great way to gain experience in the field of archaeology. Right, so there's loads more about that. I need to push on. I've spent too long on this article. But there you go, so I'll share that. I love sharing those because it goes week after week after week. There's just more and more nonsense. It doesn't seem to change. Sometimes you think we're winning, and then, the tide's turning, the Celtic thing's being pushed out, everyone's a Roman is being pushed out, the possibility of finds not being Roman, and you think you're seeing some light, and then you get an article where something prehistoric is Romano-British. Or Celtic. Oh, how mad is that, eh? Right, I'll give another reminder to keep pushing Luke's new channel. And I do notice his last video, Who You Really Are, 679 views, is doing quite well. Link again in the description. Luke's an amazing philosopher and historian, and the ancient meaning, the meaning of numbers, basic, intrinsic things you never really think about, like why do we have 9 numbers, what they signify, how does counting work, what is time, it's like the real fundamental building blocks of life. And he's only got 107 subscribers. I'm hoping people from here can go across there, links in description, and boost it up and watch. It's good. It's difficult though. I noticed primary structure of the divine mind, 257 views. I think half of those are me. It took me about 50 goes to work it all out, and I need to work through the other videos. Now I'm better, I will be doing that. Right, cracking on to our main topic. How are we doing for time? 10 to 9, that's not too bad. Right, so the Merry Wives of Arthur. Now, I know some weeks you have lots and lots of academic stuff and you have to concentrate. Get a pen and paper out even. Not today, alright? Just sit back, enjoy the ride. It's, I don't know, I've got a few ideas to add on to take things a little bit further and maybe get people to think about some of the weird things that are going on. Because the stories, nothing adds up. Not for me anyway. Someone else can add them up and tell me the answer. Please do, I'll appreciate it, alright? Okay, so the first thing we got here I want to get on to is we got more than one Arthur. Who's on the screen? Yeah, great. Okay, so this, not the prettiest graph ever done, but what we got here, oh my goodness, this is where I need my desk now, with my notes, what's on what pages and that. Because, right, this is the first bone of controversy, okay? Which, alright, I have to do it without notes. I just had it open. There's no room on this table. I'm on like a little stool. Right, okay. The important thing is here is this guy, Arthur, and as I've mentioned in previous videos, and I'm going to make a film all about it, people get too wrapped up with what his actual name was. Whether he was Adrigathius or whoever, whichever Roman. Some people say Riothmus. There's this huge argument, and in my view an awful lot of ink is wasted, whether he's Arthur or Arthun. And then one of the things that's really quite hurts me really is when people say that Wilson and Blackett fabricated evidence and they put Arun where it's clearly Arnun. If you read the books, they say it could be Arnun, it could be Arun, it could be various things. It's not the big issue, alright? The important issue is we've got this character round about, great, a huge arrow, but it won't move. This one here, sort of, we're talking 4th century to give you an idea, okay? This guy was getting old towards the 380s, so this Arthur's probably born 350s or 60s, don't quote me on that. I'm just giving a rough idea of dates. I think all dates in this area got to be rough. But the key date we do know about, well, the date we're told, is 383. In the 380s, when we have this British invasion of Europe. Now, some people say, oh, well, Mascan Ledig was, or Magnus Maximus, he was Spanish. Yeah, he was born in Spain, but he's only, say, is at least half British. And by the time you get to Arthur, he's got 3 British grandparents, and the 4th one you could argue is Roman. So, I mean, he's 3/4 British. So, I did all these people are Roman. I mean, how long do you have to be in Britain? And just because you had, like, you know, your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was possibly Roman, therefore you are. it's got a horrible feeling to me. It's a little bit like the old one drop thing that the KKK, that those horrible Ku Klux Klan used to use, is looking for this one drop in your ancestry, or like the Nazis, if you like, would look for this one drop of Jewish blood in your ancestry, and that makes you Jewish. It seems to be the same thing here, almost reversed, where just a tiny drop of Roman blood, therefore you're Roman. And no one even questions who the Romans really were. Because I'm becoming more and more convinced that it's actually the Etruscans we're dealing with. And the flamenco stuff, which shocked me when I first read it, makes more and more sense. That the dominant city in Italy was actually Tuscany. Sorry, in Toscano was Firenze. Florence was the dominant city. And Rome only really emerged in late medieval times, which is why they had to backfill a history. Anyway, I'm diverting. Let's stick to Arthur tonight. But the point is here, we've got Arthur, Arthrois, Riothemus, all those different names. To me, it's not that important, all right? We can argue all day about it. It doesn't really change anything. The point is this big invasion took place, and Magnus Maximus, thank you, Angie, for getting the graphics together, or Mascon Ledig, as we call him in Welsh. Interesting, because Wilson and Blackett always spell it like this, SC, Mascon, whereas in all other books and other writers spell it CS, Maxon. And the idea is, like same as with hieroglyphs, if you got an X, there is no X in Welsh. So if you look at the word taxi, for instance, taxi in Welsh is spelled T-A-C-S, because the CS makes the sound taxi. And I think what has happened here is an assumption has been made that the original name is the Roman Maximus, and that's been translated to Welsh, which gives Maxon, because the CS is the X. But I did speak to Alan about this a couple of months ago, and I kind of forgotten, and he wasn't that bothered. It was like 40 years ago he wrote this book. Can't remember all the details. I'll try again next time I see him. But we have to remember that Maxon Ledig is a British character. He's a Welsh character. His name, Mascon, is not a translation of Maximus. The Roman Latin names have been added later, so we shouldn't assume it's spelt CS. All right, this is a small one. So we've got the different lines here, and if you're new to the Arthur research, you've got the different lines. So, as you can see, all these major lines of the British royal families. I'm not going to go through them all now. But this is the main one, is South East Wales. Tathel, Teithrin, Teithfalth, Tudrig, Myrig, who's the father of the famous Arthur, if you like, the one with the round table, the knights and all that kind of stuff, is this one, Arthur II. And you can see their Latin versions of their names, all names you're probably familiar with. I would say they were copied into the Latin history much later. And there's the other line, the other main line, which we come down through here, and we end up with Onbraust. Sorry, my mouse is not... It's one of those slatted tables of bits of wood. There's no actual flat surface. So the key thing with Arthur, one of the reasons why he's so important, is he brings the main lines back together again. And importantly to note on here are his sons as well, Morgan and Ithael, because they are the surviving sons. But they're the surviving sons out of many sons. I would say at least, I should say children, sorry, but at least 7, maybe 8 children. And as we'll come on to see, sadly, not many, most of them didn't make it very far. And we come into a whole new world. All right, so what happened is big invasion, very famous invasion, the 380s. I'll tell you what, I'll read a little bit from, this is the one, we've still got a few copies of this left, almost all gone. Arturus Rex discovered, Wilson and Blackett, 1986, so it's a few years after the big black books, the BBBs as we call them. Right, 205. So this is where you talk about there being 3 queens named Gwenhwyfar. Oh, hang on a second. No, I need to go to the invasion first. I did write these page numbers down. Yes. I could just say it all, couldn't I? It's nice to read bits now and again just to make sure you are on the right track. Yeah, because it's important. They don't want to miss anything. All right, so we had this start the invasion. The first and most overriding necessity is to differentiate between the wars and campaigns of Arthur I and of Victor, son of Magnus Maximus. So those two are together. And those of Arthur II. All right, so well, I also did. I could do another table for this. You've got Ryden as the father of Ceindrich, who was the first wife of Magnus Maximus, and you got Ellen, crucially, is the daughter of Octavius Uther. If you go to the downloads on the Cymroglyphic site, you can see the full family tree on there, and you'll see that Magnus Maximus was very important as well, because he brought together the two main lines in his time. Oeddav, known as Octavius, who was the king of Britain, and that would have been 285 to 367. And then we get on to Arthur, who was the conqueror of Europe, king of Greece. Now you might think, why am I talking about Arthur I? What we want to do is get on to the queens of Arthur II. Well, show you in a second. One of the things, it's this name. This is what's been bugging me. And I know it's bugged lots of people who study Arthur. You look in the comments there as well. Yeah. So I can't see anything. Is that the Arthur II, the famous one, if you like, has three queens, all called Guinevere. And bizarrely, if you look into Arthur I, he goes on to fight in this campaign in Western Europe. Now, one of the things he does here, right, so the army is jointly led by Maximus Maximus, now an old man who had married Helen, the daughter of King Oeddav, and his sons Marcellus and Victor, and his other son Arthur. So he's got Victor as the brother of Arthur. Some people say Victor, and Alan Wilson says this as well, Victor might have been the father of Arthur, which would have made Oeddav his grandfather, okay? Magnus would have been his grandfather. So with them went Conan, which I quite like. I'm looking more to Conan, Meriadoc, the son of Oeddav, and his brothers and sons. As Magnus Maximus seems to have been the grandson of Traherne, another name we need to look more into, a cousin of King Oeddav, and a brother-in-law or uncle of Constantine the Great, because there are British Constantines, as you see later on when you get the one who brought in Christianity and all that. It's an old British name, okay? He clearly did not want to leave Conan behind in Britain, and he compensated him for Magnus being king of Britain by giving Conan the kingdom of Brittany. This is when the British invaded Brittany and added Brittany. It's why it's got the name Brittany. The language is called Breton, after the Britons. The Britons took it, not the other way around. All right, so we're talking about 63,000 men, roughly. There's a great battle to open the war, and it took place at Soissons, which the Welsh call the Battle of Sassy, and when Griffith of Arthur wrote about in 1136 AD. So the Emperor Gratian was defeated, and he fled to Lyon, Lugdunum, with him, and they caught him at the city of Lyon. The Emperor surrendered, and then Arthur set up a banquet and promptly murdered him. He was just too dangerous to be left alive. Either that, or I think maybe they had a big argument or a row or something. I'm going to let you see this a bit easier. Now, either before the Sassy battle or shortly after, the British laid siege to the city of Paris, which seems to have resisted, and the resistance would have been led by the Lady of Paris. Now, what's her name? She is the legendary... If I press that button then. Gwenhwyfar in Welsh, and Guinevere as her French spelling, who's now a saint. She's been sainted for her defence of Paris. And if you look in the church windows, I'm informed by the books, I haven't been able to check. Someone wants to invite me over to Paris. I'm willing to travel. You can see in the cathedrals there pictures of Arthur, which is a reference to this British taking of Paris, okay? So the story of this lady saint tells of her leading the defence of the city against attack. And the only attack of the era was the one launched by Magnus Maximus, or Maxen Ledig, and his family. Right, so I've got the slides right. Aha! So the invasion then passes south into Switzerland. Now, for a start, as Wilson and Blackett point out, We got cat to Arthur. Well, it's not really a pussy cat like our little cat, which is on that wall a minute ago. Is she going to come and join us, you think, again?
She's sleeping.
Oh, she's sleeping. Oh, fair enough. Cats always sleep. It's undoubtedly CAD, which is battle. So even in Switzerland, we got the battle site of Arthur, because he's the famous one, all right? It should really be Cat to Magnus or Cat to Maxskin or Cat to Uther or one of the other people involved. But Arthur is the man, isn't he? He's the one who gets all the... Now, the other curious thing is this place name here. Geneva. I mean, that's more or less Guinevere, isn't it? Gwenhwyfar. Gwenhwyfar. This name keeps reoccurring, okay? All right. That's a bit more about that then. We've got the CAD, meaning battle. The forces mustered by the Bishop Ambrose of Milan were gathered to try and stop Arthur from moving down to the Alps into Italy. The name Geneva is not without its own quite possible significance. Paradin, writing his description of Savoie many years ago, describes the pass named Val d'Antrona, where there was a Castillo de Merlino, and a pass to which Hannibal led his armies. So Hannibal, oh my goodness, just had a sudden thought then. Well, if the stories of the Roman Empire are actually echoes that have been planted, this gets complicated now. We got there. This would throw doubt about when and who Hannibal was and his campaigns. Now, the pass through which Hannibal led his armies into Spain became the Mont du Chat Arthurs, the mountain of Arthur's cat, or Arthur's battle. The older Italian name for Geneva is quoted by one 19th century author as Guinevere, which he takes from Guinevere. So again, this Gwenhwyfar, I'll come on to the name itself later. And I've lost my producer. That's okay. I just need to shuffle things around, because I have to be able to see the comments, because I'm dying to see what people are saying. Can we just turn out a bit like that, please? Okay, all right. So right, now we're into Arthur 2 now, okay? If you go back a few weeks, you'll find a whole evening talking about Arthur 1 and his campaigns and stuff. Right. How can we have... Doesn't it seem crazy that we have 3 queens all named Guinevere? So I think there's something in this name which I'll be getting to towards the end. I just hope I remember. Someone comment, oi, you didn't explain the names. All right. So I've tried to summarise roughly the 3. These are his 3 official wives. We have to explain now. And we have to do a bit of detective work together, okay? We have to do a little bit of thinking now, okay? These are his 3 official wives. He also had 3 common law wives. What is not obvious, or I haven't, well, maybe you've worked it out, I haven't worked it out yet, and I don't think it's even possible to work it out, is the order of all 6. And I got to, we'll come on to, is it 6 anyway? So you got 3 legal wives, or formal wives, official wives, and 3 unofficial wives. I don't like to call them mistresses, because there's clearly more to it than that. I think it's the other way around in some ways. You have to have a political marriage to produce heirs and keep, this dynasty thing going. And then you got the person you're really married to. So, and we can't apply modern values and judgments. And by the way, these 3 were one after the other. So the first wife, and if I just check I get the names of the sons right, because they had, I could have drawn this on the screen, would have been nice, wouldn't it? Sorry about that. Alright, so we got the first, so make sure you're getting the right way around. If you got this book, in a second, let's put it on myself. You'll see there's a lovely table in there, fair play. I spent a lot of my life redrawing tables for books to produce them and things, but you can probably freeze that at some point and have a good look at it. In this case, I have to say the production values on this book are dramatically better than the first ones. Alright, so Right, so we got their marriage, Gwenhwyfar, daughter of Carwyd Kite, alright? Oh, I've got them in slightly the wrong order, haven't I? So number 3, she's number 1, I just realised. Slightly different in the text. And, that's interesting. I need to double check this, 'cause I don't think I made that kind of mistake. So Carwyd, the daughter of Carwyd Kite, is the one supposed to be buried at St. Julian's in Newport, alright? Now we've got, I must have confused these slightly. One of the things, it's quite difficult reading Wilson and Blackett, as I'm sure you know, and when we reproduce the books, which obviously I haven't done in this case, spent a lot of time with people like Marchell and mine's got blank a second, the other people involved in the project who help with the editing, and we really work hard to try and straighten everything out and clarify it. Nothing gets removed, nothing gets changed, just make it less of a puzzle to read, okay? But anyway, they're all called Gwenhwyfar, so does it really matter that much, right? Which one's which? So one's buried at St. Julian's, Newport.
Your glass is a bit wonky.
My glasses are wonky, yeah, I got wonky ears. What can I do about it? I've got wonky ears. Oh, it's gone dark behind. Looks quite cool now. Looks like I'm in some green screen set. I think that's what someone said last week, wasn't it? Right, so let's crack on with it. So the first marriage, anyway, which could be the one number 3 on this list, doesn't really matter too much. They had 4 sons: Nawi, Llachai, Goedra, and Ania. I'll just put that up there. I don't know if you can see it or not. It'll just, I'm not just making these things from nowhere. I need to make sure the text matches up with the diagrams as well. Now, the tragedy is, those 4 sons all seem to have been killed in the completely forgotten and written out of history Mercian Wars. This is the Twrch Trwyth, okay? This is the wild boar hunt as it's shown in the Mabinogi. The wild boar, is the Mercians. The Mercian king with his piglets, with the princes and generals and, lower commanders, presumably. So, if you read the story of the Twrch Trwyth, it's this rampaging giant boar. Is it a real pig, really? The boar would refer to, on their helmets, to the boar insignias and on their shields and stuff. This is very much their image. And the boar came rampaging through, destroyed whole towns and villages, and killed lots of the Welsh nobility. Now, it's not a real pig, is it? I mean, come on, I have to use a bit of thinking here. And they ended up, after passing through Wales and getting chased and relentlessly pursued, they end up in the sort of West Midlands area and became known as the Mercians. And I keep meaning to do a video on that because the work Wilson and Blackett have done is amazing, including who these Mercian kings were and how you can show their connections with the Vandals. The Vandals. So the Vandals passed down through Italy into North Africa, and then at a certain point in history they sail off into the sunset and disappear. Except they didn't disappear. They came first to Ireland. Arthur went across to Ireland to chase them, and pursued them back to Britain, and they rampaged through. This is the story we're talking about. And one of the great stories is Nawi, that's right, Nawi, one of the sons who seems to be a favourite of Arthur's and everything. He's like the gleaming one, he's the hero. And in some readings of the Welsh records, that Arthur killed his own son. I mean, this would just be such an abomination. It'd be such a huge event for a king to kill his son and heir. It's just unthinkable. This would be one of the biggest stories in the whole of ancient history. And the way Wilson Blackett explain it, interpret it, is what happened in fact was he was trying to keep Nawi out of the fighting. And Nawi has disobeyed his father and has gone to be a hero. And instead of just observing the Vandals, he's got himself into a fight and he's died. And his father is devastated. So it's the other way around. Look, his father killed him. His father's devastated that he's being killed. It's the other way around. And all those sons go. Now, this is where the similarity, if you like, with the King Henry VIII story, whereby, as far as I can tell, the first marriage seems to, successful. They had lots of children. They were together a long time. And like Henry VIII, who couldn't produce heirs, although it wasn't Arthur, if you remember. It had an Arthur who didn't survive, which is another interesting little connection. But this marriage, it doesn't seem she died, the first wife. But Arthur needed heirs on account of his sons all being killed. This is where we get a sort of Anne Boleyn type character. The second wife comes along, and this is supposed to be the one here who is... this is going to come on to this in a second, so I'll tell you the story as it seems first of all. This is the one who's supposed to have had the affair with Mordred. So they're supposed to have been... The story is, while Arthur's away at the front, or doing his business, being a king, they start seeing each other. They're supposed to have been together before she married Arthur. So it seems to be a situation, she's a suitable wife. To provide heirs, he's married her even though she's already got someone. I would think it's more that way around. And so they get caught, and of course a king can't be seen to have this done to him. And the story goes on, this is where the Scottish connection comes in. Oop. Hang on. He pursues her, sorry, this is the... If you go... running a bit late. If you go to the videos, you might have seen it already. Type in... Oh, that's what I was going to do, yeah. Show you the place where they met. The place where this particular Gwenhwyfar lived is not far from here. Miskin or Llaniltern is there's a couple of names for the place. So you can see the video there. I'll just show you how to find the videos, alright? Just quickly. Dun, dun, dun. Because you might be surprised how many videos there are that you might want to watch. Hang on a second. Come on. God, my internet connection is so slow. No wonder it's such a lag. Gordon Bennett. That's crazy, isn't it? You've seen this. Alright, okay, it's taking way too long. I think there's a problem. So here's a picture. There's Tim. Let's see Tim again. We've got some more filming to do. Like, there we are at Miskin. You can see there's this beautiful, beautiful ruin. We can still see the building. Let's try to get a better shot of the building. There we go. Come on. It looks a bit like this. This is the place they met. So what you do is if you go to the channel, alright? Hang on a second. If you go to Britain's Hidden History. Britain's Hidden History Ross. You're going to go to the channel. Uh-oh, you're going to get me saying something. So what I'll explain is that these videos are a resource, you know. It's not just for a one-off thing. So what you can do then is go into the search box. There's a search box. And if you type in a place, you'd be amazed. I spent ages putting all the places in there. Miskin in this instance. I searched the Miskin, and there it is. King Arthur's Hunting Lodge Miskin. It's in the Visits to the Sites playlist. There's some other stuff where I've mentioned it. Alright? Okay, so hopefully that's a useful resource. It sounds a bit conceited, I know, but it's not meant to be, because it's you know, I'm passing on Wilson and Blackie's stuff. It's not me who's finding this stuff. Quite often, if I want to look something up, I now go and find my own video, which is really weird. Watching yourself back and all that kind of stuff. But there's lots there, okay? Which I was welcome to use and share, of course. Right, so what happens then? He chases her all the way up to Scotland, to a place called Meagle, near Whitehorn, up in Perth. And this is where he's supposed to run her down, and you'll see here the story. Not he's supposed to have, sorry, it isn't where he's supposed to have. This is what Wilson Black shows the real story. You can see the story here. Here is Arthur on his horse. There's his huntsman with his whip or whatever he uses to control the hunting dogs. And it's either them or a couple of knights. And he tracks down Guinevere and sets the dogs on her. And she's ripped to shreds and killed. So this fits in my mind with the Anne Boleyn story, because it's divorced, beheaded. She's executed for being unfaithful. But there's a huge, huge twist with this one. If I'd like to just read it from the book, if I can find it, because it's... let's make sure I give the right bits. Yep, so we've got the story in Meagle, in Scotland, and there's the stone. Right, oh yeah, because the mainstream story we have is that what they've done is tried to move this Welsh story out of Wales and Scotland and stick it into England for political reasons. Right, so I've just told you the story there. So what we have then, the luckless queen, I'll call her. The luckless queen was caught by his hunting dogs and torn to pieces. Yeah, it was pretty luckless, wasn't it? So Cressy, writing in 1688, so it's not that long ago it was changed, transferred this tale over to Somerset, out of Wales and into England. Here he says that Guinevere was stolen by Melwas and taken to Glastonbury, and that King Arthur pursued them to that place. A battle between Arthur and Melwas was prevented by the abbot of Glastonbury and St. Gildas, attended by many monks. And don't forget, Gildas hated Arthur for reasons which come into this story in a minute, to do with Huel, his brother. And the queen was restored to King Arthur. Then both kings made large and generous gifts to the church. Now, as King Arthur ap Myrig died around 575 AD, and Glastonbury was not founded until the period 950 AD, 370 odd years later, all of this is of course very strange. In fact, we can only find one Now, this is where the twist comes in. I'd missed this. You have to read some of the Wilson Blackie books many times sometimes. The big twist comes out. Because the story's about Melwas, alright? In fact, we only find one Melwas in any of the records and genealogies. And he did live around the 670 to 700 period, well after the time of King Arthur ap Myrig. It seems that King Arthvile ap Rhys ap Ithael ap Morgan ap King Arthur, so King Arthur II, the famous ones, son, grandson, great-great-grandson, is the king intended by this story. This king Arthvile, or Arthur III, did in fact also fight Saxons' wars around the 670 to 700 period. So what is going on here? We have to remember, however, is that Cressy was probably making the same mistake as everyone else and translating Afalach or Abalach as Glastonbury or Avalon, when the correct translation should be Valentinian, or the province of Valentia. So instead of Arthur pursuing Queen Gwenhwyfar and Melwas south across the Severn into Somerset, he was in fact chasing them north up towards Scotland, with Valentia being the area between Carlisle and Newcastle upon Tyne in the south, roughly Hadrian's Wall as it's called, and Glasgow and Edinburgh in the north. If we get away from the Glastonbury nonsense, we get sense and reason. So what's the evidence in the far north? And that's when we get to this stone here, where you can see the story being passed out. So what Alan never really clears up here is, so that means this isn't an Arthur II story. Did he not have 6 wives then? Did he only have 5 wives? And this is a story referring to Arthur III. So once again, we see another example, and this is what causes so many problems in Arthurian history, is that all the stories from this Arthur I, whoever he was, right, Aristobulus and all these, I think Wilson and Blackett make a really good case for who it is, but other people want to quibble about that, so let's just put the quibbles aside and accept that it was a character whose life story and events got mixed into the story of Arthur II. And then it also seems there's a possibility that some story from Arthur III has also got mixed into Arthur II. So we've actually got 3 Arthurs in this story. How cool is that? Or not cool, depending on your viewpoint, I suppose. Alright, so there's the other side of the Guinevere stone. And you can see there the rear side of the tombstone of Queen Guinevere II. It has a circle cross, and below, someone just mentioned Egyptian in the comments, didn't they? Yes, pretty confusing. Yeah, I know it's confusing. Sorry about that. I think it's because it was so confusing that some of these medieval writers, most famous being Griffith ap Arthur, for example, or even later writers, this is one of the points that Wilson Blackett make a lot, is that you imagine this is confusing now, right? And we tried our best to iron this out, right? Alan's tried to iron it out. I've tried to iron it out. It's still confusing. Imagine if you were Geoffrey ap Arthur, Griffith ap Arthur, Geoffrey of Monmouth, as he's also known as. And you got this massive pile of manuscripts coming from all over the place in no particular order. It's in difficult Latin, written hundreds of years before. I think it'd be tempting to just go, right, let's put all the Arthur stories together, and that seems to be what happened. So what's curious on here, I hope you can see this down the bottom. These are like sort of giraffes or something, you know. This reminds me of, well, and Animal mentions it, animals from the Egyptian and Mesopotamian sculpture. You do see that in hieroglyphs and things. So it's a very, very curious thing here. And this is up in Scotland, right? It's not just a Welsh thing. So that explains the Arthur connection there. And of course, all right, I've jumped ahead a bit there. How are we doing? It's getting a bit late. But I do want to just quickly mention the common law wives, if you like. They get written out, they get pretty much ignored. But one in particular is important. Just trying to get which one is which. Right, okay, so we got the three common law wives. Sorry to get time to put the graphic up for this. Were Garwen, who's the daughter of Henan Tegrin. These names are going to sound really complicated, especially if you haven't got an ear for Welsh stuff. But anyway, the daughter of, so Map Henan Tegrin Goer of Ystrad Tywi in South Wales. Then you got Goel, or Gwyl, who's the daughter of Oitau of Carwargan. Carwargan, of course, Llantic Major, or Llantic Fawr, if she's calling it again, or even Carwargan, just not Llantwit. Coinistid, most famous saint, Twit. And Indeg. Now I'd like to analyse these names as well, but Indeg, daughter of Avarwi here of Mailynydd. Now, presumably this one, now, if we're trying to shuffle the six into an order to make a story, and this is why I'm wondering if there's how much of this is being deliberately combined to create a Henry VIII story. You know, why is Arthur III being pushed in? Maybe Arthur I pushed in. The common law wives. I'm sorry for expecting nice, clear solutions tonight, because I haven't worked all this out yet. And I've been puzzling this over for the last few days, and I've read these books before. I'm just laying out how fascinating I find it anyway. How fascinating. Now, the reason why she's important is this seems to be the one that Huel, Huail, Huel, is the was also involved with her, or fancied her, or even married to her, I don't know. But he's the one who had the fallout, who Arthur had the fallout with. And you can see the Huel stone, the execution stone, it's still there near Ruthin, I think it is, where Arthur chopped his head off over a dispute over this woman. So we've now got I'm trying to tie this in with the Henry VIII's Merry Wives, if you remember. So we've now got our second execution. So if you look at the divorced, beheaded, survived, divorced, beheaded, died. We've got the first divorce. It was the one they had the 4 or 5 children, but they all died. We've got the second married but executed for being unfaithful, presumably. We've now got the fifth one. Again, only this time it's the lover, if you like, who's been executed. The other man's been executed. Who knows what happened to her? Knowing the vicious times, maybe she had her head cut off as well. I don't know if there's much of a record of what happened to these people. That's the problem. But you can still see, the Huel stone is at Ruthin. That's right, they get it right, on the stone in the square. And then we got the other people, Idnerth ap Myrig. He's in Llandewi Brevi, where his stone is. Now, one of the curious things then is we can start to track down some of these. And one is a Llan Iltern font. And I need some help here. Because I'll just read a bit of this. One additional tale of Llan Iltern. So that's Llan as in church and Iltern, okay? Which might not be a name, by the way. It could be ale as in ale, and Tern as in the king. Alright? So one additional tale of Llan Tern is the folk tale that King Meurig and his son, the infant Arthur, was baptised in the font at the church. This has been said to be ridiculous, as the font is 12th century in design. True, so it is. Yet this proof of date is no proof at all. The fact is that very ancient original fonts were, after the arrival of the Normans around 1100 AD, much later, they were constantly recarved and modernised. So the ancient fonts would be enormous like this, and then you chip away the outside layer to put the new people on, the new designs, whatever the latest funky thing is, and so the font gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's still the same font. It's a bit like Trigger's broom, you know. So the process kept going on and on and on. So Mr. Illtyd Gardner made an extensive search into fonts at Hereford and Gwent in 1917, and included several fonts from all over England to help draw his conclusions. So he came to this idea that they got cut down more and more and more. So what I'm trying to find is the Llan Tern font. Is it still around? Because as far as I'm concerned, Llan Tern, as far as I know, Llan Tern's a ruin. So if anyone knows, they can put in the comments, please. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, some conversation I was just trying to pick up. Seems it's gone a little bit off. Right, but it's related conversation, so I'm not interfering or timing off. I guess you go into trains of thought. Now you can see people thinking and working stuff out. It's all good stuff. Now the other thing is, I've got to find this Llan Tern church, if it's still there, because there's a stone identified there, and this is key, because what we have is Hic Lacit, or Yacit, Gwenora, Latin for here lies Gwenhwyfar. Alright, and we can talk a bit more about how the church was just flattened and rebuilt. And these precious stones, this used to be set in the wall as the idea. There's letters from the 17th and 18th century saying the stone was set in the wall with Hic Lacit Gwenora, which is more physical evidence to support Arthur being in the Glamorgan Gwent area and his queen Gwenhwyfar. Sorry, you can't see that, can you? There we go. Hit Yacit Gwenora, here lies Gwenhwyfar. All right, so I don't go too long onto that now. Just almost there now, because let's make sure I got the sons right. So this is where it gets, as if it's not confusing enough, into the ones that followed, and this is where I give very much my version of things. Obviously, based mostly on Wilson and Blackett. And piece it together. It might well be the same as he said as well. I'm trying to simplify it into a situation. I can see the comments now, by the way, which just makes it easier. So what I'm going to talk about here is the situation with this problem with getting an heir again. Now, by the time we get to the sixth wife, we're talking about an old man. Well, the comments are flying through. So you're talking about an old man, and he needs to produce an heir. So the third wedding now is, so we got the second one, daughter of Oigerman, of the official wives now, is buried at Meagle in Perthshire. I would say for the unofficial ones, we don't know an awful lot. I'd like to know more, but we seem to have a similar situation. He's taken one, moved on to another one, who Huel was executed. Maybe she was executed as well, and maybe she's the one who survived. All right, because one or died. Take your pick to fit the six. All right. Hello, Cole. Good evening. Wow, the comments are so fast I can't keep up. Great to see you so busy. Yeah, I can't possibly answer. There's too many comments. Great to see so many people online. So anyway, so the situation we have then, if you go in, if you had a chance to search the videos, there's one I did, must be 3 years ago. I called it Welsh Game of Thrones, where you can see I did little cartoons of all the different people, and you can see the manoeuvring. Because this is the tragic part. Arthur, the order I read things, is that Arthur now had no heirs after his fifth wife. So what he decides to do, and also back to describe this, but maybe not quite the same order, is he goes to his nephews. And this is where he picks out Gwenhwyfar to be his heir. And I'm more and more convinced that this is the reason for all the trouble. Gwenhwyfar was chosen as his heir, as the nephew. Now, Gwenhwyfar has a brother, or even a twin, called Mordred. So Gwenhwyfar and Mordred's not happy about his brother becoming the king. Then, of course, we have the comet, around about 562, and the British royal family evacuates to Brittany, Amorica. It's not the America journey, the Amorica journey. The poor peasants, I presume, are dying in terrible conditions in Britain. Usual thing, the royals get themselves safe. And at some point, he decides Arthur has to come back with Gwenhwyfar to restore his kingdom and take over and run things again. But in the meantime, Mordred has taken his chance, and he has established himself as the king. Maybe he's the hero of the piece. Maybe he's the one who came back when things were terrible and brought the straggling people together. Who knows who the good guys and the bad guys really were. He's raised an army. This is interesting. When we speak to Devereux, my Druid friend in North Wales, who'll never be watching this, which is a shame. Hello, Devereux, anyway. Well, I'm hopefully going to see you again soon. His version of the Battle of Camlan is that Arthur raised lots of foreign mercenaries like Saxons and Jutes and things like that. In this version of events, it's the other way around. Arthur lands at Longbourth Beach, and he goes up into North Wales, at the Crooked Glen, Camlan. That's where he fights his battle against Mordred and his foreign allies, his whatever, or North Walians, or whichever way it is exactly. So Longbourth is on the west coast of Wales. There's a battle there. This is where Geraint is said to be killed, and you can just about find a farm called Beth Geraint, which is the grave of Geraint. Steve Pole and my mate Bob Morgan, my two friends there, they've done a lot of work trying to find exactly where this is and where the burial site is and all that. We'll do more on that soon. And they come up to fight, and the tragedy is that Gwenhwyfar and his brother Mordred both die. So again, there's no heir. So this situation was, did he then have a sixth wife? Was he even able to produce heirs at that age? Or are these the ones like Morgan, Ithael and Gwyneirth, most famous ones, actually grandsons from earlier sons, which seems just as likely. Either way, they're very young when Arthur dies, which is why the whole subterfuge of the false burial, so no one knows he's dead before we can carry on with the real burial. So a couple of things, other things. I almost forgot this bit. Oh, I got to get back to the name, haven't I? One, which is a strange one. Just see who's awake still. You know Grendel? You know who Grendel is? It's Grendel is the enemy of the Saxons. He's the one that Beowulf had to go off and kill before he kills the mother, which seems to be an ancient Babylonian story. But an interesting aside, if you like, that Alan Wilson puts in is that the father. Let's make sure I get this right. The father of the wife of what's probably Arthur III, he's known as Gwendal, which seems to become Grendel, the enemy of the Saxons. Just throw that in as a little bit of an aside. All right, didn't I put that on the screen? Let's just make sure that I don't know if I find that bit as well now. But anyway, that's the idea there. I was trying to find the exact quote, but it's buried in here somewhere. Right, okay, so we got the Grendel thing. Now then, just to finish off, doesn't it seem strange, or does it seem strange, I should say, to lead the witness? Does it seem... I agree, it's very confusing. And why are all the women called Gwenhwyfar? To me, it would suggest that's not their name, it's more of a title. So, in true do your own research, this on YouTube fashion, I went and got Oh, I have to put these on the floor because I've run out of space completely. Make sure I've got the right book. Right one. So I've got my favourite dictionary. I know Alan likes the little red one. I prefer this one. It's the big one here, which is the British Language in its Lustre, 1803. And I thought, oh, hang on. Angel Delight. Oh, it's nice. I can't wait to get to that. Let's try and work out what Gwenhwyfar means, shall we? Let's look it up and see what we get. Alright, so I got the... So what I did first was look up Gwen, of course. It would help if I typed this up on the screen, but there we go. So Gwen, I think most people know, is white, fair, beautiful. Gwenhwyfar is having a smile, smiling, pleasing. And then, I'm going to come back to that in a second. And Hoiver, could that possibly have a meaning? Does this mean something? Where's my Hoiver gone? I did all this earlier. Do you know we get this every night? An aeroplane or a helicopter comes over about this time. Another one about 3 in the morning. So I have no idea what that's about. Oh, I found a word for Hoiver. I marked it. Why can't I see it? Hoi. So hoi wise, to tame readily. Hoi weth, apt to be orderly arranged. Hoi wetherus, of tractable haste. And they got words, almost similar roots of rendering, comfortable or tractable. This is where it gets a breaking in or a taming. You got words like bridles, what I was trying to find anyway. Well, so hoi wethy is to render tameable, to break in, to tame. The yoke. So is it like he breaks in the beauty? It's not very politically correct these days, is it? So I say break in the beauty, but maybe it means that. Again, seems a little bit unfortunate. But what really struck me, by the way, you got other things like Gwenhwyfar, which is the region of bliss, and claims like this. But the word we all know, like Welsh, no, I circled it in there, so you can just check it, I've got it as a saint, is Gwenna. When you look at the word Gwenna, it suddenly becomes very interesting. So Gwenhwyfar or Guinevere, you've got Gwenna. Gwenna is that confers happiness, which fits in with don't forget Welsh words, you tend to have the mundane, the sort of everyday usage, and then you have a higher usage or even a third usage. That's a great thing about the language, okay? So you have Gwen or Gwenna. That confers happiness. But also Gwenna is Venus, which is, it's always associated with love, isn't it? The goddess of love. But art is also associated with the bear. Where the bear and Venus meets. Might be interesting to look into. So you've got Seren, and a bit late, Andrew, for Seren tonight, I think. But Seren's watching. Seren Wener is the morning star, which is Venus. And obviously you have Dydd Gwener is Friday. So I don't have a definite answer. But I can't help wondering if there's a connection there between Gwenhwyfar. It all ties in, sort of. It's like, it's so close you can almost feel it and touch it. You can't. We got Gwen is beautiful and fair. We've got the bridling. We got the taming. We got the Venus, the morning star, the goddess of love. It all ties in. And I think there's something in there about really what Guinevere means. So to get back, just to top it off with a bow. Is anyone going to play any music tonight? Is it going to be you, Zev, or? Leon, sorry, there's a switch on me. That's not fair. Switching twins on me halfway through the show.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah. I'll ask Arnie or whoever, or Zev. I thought he was prepared. If I'm going to be prepared, don't worry. But it's bedtime. Yeah, bedtime for Sarah. Yeah, sorry it's a bit late, Andrew. It is Huel holidays. Bedtime for my boys as well. So, what do you think? Put in the comments. I look forward to seeing it. So, do we have one Arthur, 6 wives? Which I reckon, if we could find a little bit more about the common law wives and slot them into their timings, we could I could more or less get the divorced, beheaded, survived, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. And isn't it uncanny how there's supposed to be 6 wives for Arthur and 6 for Henry VIII, who's a Welsh king? It's something, because our natural assumption is to assume that the Henry VIII story is all correct because it's more recent and we sort of think we know more about it. Maybe that's been jiggled with. Maybe the Arthur story, but I think once you start putting the Arthur story apart, it seems more and more to me that at least one of those Guinevers refers to Arthur the One. And I tend to think that all the names Guinevere are in honour of Saint Guinevere, rather than being, Lucy or whatever her name was. Oh, you brought the keyboard out. That's very impressive. Oh, what tiny bit of space I've got is now being taken over by an electric keyboard. So the dictionaries are going to go.
The dictionaries are all busy.
Better not rain a day early because you've had it yet. Right, I'll try and read some comments now because I'm absolutely fascinated. I don't claim to have all the answers on this one. I am fascinated to hear what people think. Oh, there's no comments there. Where do I go for comments? Leon. Oh yeah, here we go. Right, the comments are so thick and fast I can't keep up.
That's just a lag.
No, they're flying through. So many. Right, David up Huel. I suspect Gwenhwyfar is more of a title, meaning one whose beauty extends far. Yeah, I think something like that. Whoa, I'll slow these down. Arthurius is injured. Andrew Perkins. Arthurius was injured in all those battles which required Mercury. Maybe he was impotent. Ugh. Interesting idea. Mark Manning. People have to get used to having the truth revealed. Yes. Yeah, I had someone who was quite upset today because it was something that they agreed with. They didn't quite find any problems with it, but they didn't want to learn anything new. I thought, oh well, they'd probably give the channel a skip then. Hang on, let's go back a bit. Some interesting stuff here. Something to do with Masons and American presidents. What's going on? This is... Alright, I can't go back to the start, alright? I apologise, it's getting too late. 9:45 already. Let's go back as far as... Wow, there's some great conversation here. I recommend anyone watching this on playback, have a look at the... Oh, what's that, on?
No, he's fine.
Oh, you want to play, Andy? Okay, I don't think Leon minds. Do you want to play a duet?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay with that, are you? Okay, Arnie's ready to play. Bit of sibling rivalry here. Right, let's just do a little bit of chat. Right, before the flood, every civilization worked on a 360-day a year. Starting on March the 21st, the extra 5 days were added to the end of the first month to represent the 5 Egyptian demi-dogs. Is that demi-dogs or demigods? And that's Squirrel Sniper, thank you very much. Yes, I think with that one, I don't know about the time of year though. I tend to think it's after the winter solstice is my theory on it. It's only theories, isn't it? When the sun goes down to die in December 21st, then we have till Christmas. And then we have that weird period, don't we, between sort of what we call Boxing Day and New Year's Day, when no one knows what day it is. I don't know if it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday, or if it's supposed to be in work, or it's a day off. And I think those are the extra 5 days. And the great thing about it is it wasn't always 5 days. It might be 4 or 5. And the astronomers would be out there looking to see when the sun reaches a certain point. And that's when the New Year's declared. And that's why I don't think there's any of this shifting of their calendars. There's no need for leap years or anything like that, or adjustments. The calendar automatically adjusts because over 3 or 4 years you'll be nudged out by almost a day, but then you only get 4 days off at Christmas and you're back in line again. There we go. Makes sense to me. So if you're going to do a calendar to make sure it stayed accurate forever, how would you do it? Try and do the modern system where it's 365 point whatever, 2-3 days, so we have to have an extra leap year every 4 days except for millennium days and blah blah blah. Just add it on to start the year when the sun rises. Anyway, I don't know who was gatekeeping about what me. I don't know, don't trust me with any gates. Right, Suzanne Price, the Lyran Stargate, sorry, right. Right, I can't... Alright, here we go, something about Mercians. I believe I read an article, George Bodley, thank you for commenting. One of the places that they, the Mercians, were allegedly chased through was Llambeda, north of Crick Owl. Yeah, that would be on the route, wouldn't it? I mean, that's sort of mid-Wales towards the English border. I went... there's this chap from last week, I don't know, male or female, but with this wonderful name I'm trying to work out to say. Achmasay Bran Laloran. I love that name. I went to Wales, and for many weekends I would go to Ogmorwenny Castle. I followed the river. I ended up in Bull. And 20 years later I heard Alan Wilson, and he was right. That's wonderful. What an amazing story. Absolutely fantastic. Did you find the cave? Did you find... for those who are not aware, what we're referring to here is the Owenny River is where Arthur's body is supposed to be brought. It's an important place. It's also where the Battle of Baden was fought up from there. But what the reference here is that when Arthur's dead body was brought back from America or from North Wales or from Amorica, let's take our pick with the versions at the moment. And Ifdid was waiting. Saint Ifdid, who was the brother of Arthur, and would have been trusted with the body and to keep it quiet. And there's the cave. You can find it in again the videos. Just search cave; it should come up, and you can see the cave and you can see the carved area. Although it's been badly vandalised in the last 30 years, you can still see where the stone was cut to hold his body, and then transferred a short way up to Llanbeda Church, which in this case means the Church of the Big Boat, because that's where you got the ancient burial circles and stuff. So there's loads around there. Fascinating area. And if you follow the Owenny up, so you can see the Battle of Baden, all sorts. Brilliant. So thank you, Achmosay. I'm sorry if I hope I got that close. Try my best. Right, Susanna. Interesting, the solar cross overshadowing the Babylonian symbols. Oh, I think we're talking about the cross on the Meagle stone, wherever it's called. Nama or Menes returned to Ireland to die. Ian Briggs. I don't know where that comes into. I'm sorry. Many things are not on Google. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Angie's trying to find images to help my presentation tonight, and find hardly any of these things. It's amazing. Amelia, a lady told me about stones in the Highlands, but I'd forgotten about that and the details what she told me. Nadio, similar to Solomon, married women for political reasons. Yeah, I think most. I don't even think you have to be that senior to marry for political reasons. I think even a sort of junior lord or something, or local lord of the manor would marry for political reasons. Keep the money in the family. It's all about the money, isn't it? Anyone know about this is from Archel, the Cochno stone? Somewhere in Scotland, for some reason, they reburied it. No, I don't. In front of the bank on Ruthin Square. Thank you, Meg W. Yes. Ross, is the story of a specific book written in the British tongue from Mappis Suspect, if it was a pile of jumbled manuscripts? Yes and no. I think the authenticity is okay, because what we do have, Wilson and Blackett have put together, is different manuscripts from independent sources that correlate with one another. I mean, from really different eras, even hundreds of years apart, and everything slots together. So to be a forgery or something like that would just be, well, phenomenally difficult to put forged documents all around the country over a long period, and for them to accidentally or by chance match up, that also seems very unlikely. The difficult bit, and this is where Wilson and Blackett are so special, is that 99.9% all the other, well, in fact, all the other historians go, this is a mess. This is clearly out of date. How can that be there? This should be in the 3rd century, and Arthur won in the 380s, but he's in the 6th century, and this is all rubbish. What Alan Wilson does with his genius, and say, all right, okay. We know it's jumbled up. Let's put everything back, and we can work it out, because this manuscript has got genealogy of 5 generations, and there's a name, and we know that person married that person. Oh, hang on, that person's mentioned in this manuscript. There's that marriage. Do they match up? Yeah, the dates match on the other ones, so this seems to work. We can put those two next to each other. Following this one back, we get to there, and following this one down, we get to there. So it's brilliant. I've got so much unpublished stuff I've got to get done, so I won't be so many videos. I've got to get that out, all right? But it's an excellent question. Thank you. I know the stone circle at Longmay and Aberdeenshire where a compass won't work. Thank you, Marshall. Yeah, I keep meaning to. I've got to use my compass more often because I keep going to sites and I can't get my compass to work. And I assume it's my uselessness with all things mechanical, but it might actually be that the compass doesn't work when I'm trying it. And I should try it in more things. Anyway, so I have to go now. It really is getting late now. The real Jacob's pillow is hidden in plain sight in a public place in Scotland. Camosse, you're teasing us now. Does that mean not to tell us where it is? Because they're supposed to be sitting on a cistern cover, so we're only a toilet cover. What else? After they returned it. Right, the ugly one living next door to me in Lewis. Right, okay. Sorry, Angela, you missed so much of this. You always go back to the start and watch it again. And if you leave comments, please do. Brett, great show again, Ross. Bro, thanks for the mention. You know it's a port, right? Eh? Oh, port call rather than Porthcawl. I thought Porth meant gateway. Yeah, port harbour. Porth, Welsh for harbour, isn't it? Anyway, fab content, much love. Much love back to you as well, Brett. Diolch yn fawr. Scone is in Persia. All right, Kings of Glamorgan. You're right, Brett. Yes. Great. Well, thank you much, everybody. And according to a close now. Hang on. Oh, the comments are fast and I can get through them. I know about the Welsh Egypt P. There's someone called P. Hi there, I'm new on here. I know about the Welsh-Egyptian connection. Have you managed to decipher any of the so-called rituals depicted in stone? Look at hieroglyphics. I have to stand up a bit higher here. Get yourself a copy of the book or have a look at the videos and you can see how to read it yourself. Or let me know which manuscripts you want to look at. Most of it, there's some things you still can't quite work out what they are being drawn. Once you know what they are, you just look up the Welsh word and then find the word that sounds like it and you know where it is. All right? I keep looking at the light. Why do I keep looking at the light? The camera's there. I don't have my usual camera. I'm using the notebook camera. So, and you just read it. it's like for some of the texts now, the ones that got the more familiar hieroglyphs in them, I can read, and not because I'm a genius or anything, it just takes a bit of practice. You can read them almost like just reading a book, which is sort of how reading and writing should work. The idea that you give a passage to 7 different Egyptologists and they come back with 7 different possible meanings and no one's sure which one it is, to me that sounds like you can't read it rather than you can. With hieroglyphics, the same hieroglyph means the same word, not a letter, not a sound, not a... what sort of things they use? Denominators. I can't remember all the terms. I spent so much time studying conventional Egyptology and it's so confusing. Anyway, all those things you can forget about. Each hieroglyph is a word, and it's the same word every time you see it. It's dead easy. So it's not dead easy. That's not fair. It can get tricky, partly because you have to allow for Welsh grammar. The word order changes, particularly the syntax, but it's not that difficult. So thank you, P. Give it a go, or have a look at some of those videos. Send me a message. Want ross@hieroglyphics.com if you've got a particular script in mind. I haven't done much hieroglyphs for a while. I'll be getting rusty. I could do with something to work on. Right, I think we got to the end. Brilliant. 10-hour lectures, yeah. Almost 2 hours every week. I always end up about 2 hours. Good grief. When's the next live show? Every Sunday, 8 o'clock. Every Sunday, 8 o'clock live shows. And I might have to start doing one during the week as well because we're 116 shows in and 500 videos. And the amount of work needed to be done has gone from there to there. Because I'm reading more and more the unpublished stuff as well. And piecing more things together. And there's actually more. So join us on a Sunday evening. It's advert free, it's nice, friendly, loads of good chat. Really lovely people in the comments. And it's all great. Right, sorry, Arnie is my musical, bit of live music. Didn't have much live music tonight. Do you know what? One thing disappointed me about my Elvis video was I sang a bit of Jailhouse Rock at the end, and I didn't get not one request to sing it in full. I can take it. It's okay. But I do need to get some practice in for the Elvis impersonators thing. Right, we're going to play us on. Something jolly to finish the night?
Oh, yeah. Something I haven't played on the show in a while.
Go on in. Oh, you're going to play Joy when I'm on the show for right then, Arnie B. I shall say a few good nights. Take us away. Oh, lovely. Right, yes, very nice to get to know you, Achmasei. I love your name. Please tell me where in the world you're from. I think it's fantastic. Amelia in West Central Scotland. Well, there you go then. You got a bit of Scottish tonight. Our native tongue is Scots, not Gaelic. Oh, yeah. Don't pay attention to you, idiot and Holyrood. Yeah, this annoys me, man. All this thing about everything's Gaelic. What about the old Scottish languages? They spoke Brythonic, I don't like that word, but the old, pretty much Welsh. I mean, look at the names of the places. The one I always think is Hampden Park, is where Scotland Rugby plays their games, or the football, sorry. Oops. This made one of those MP mistakes. Now, officially it's named after some Lord Hampden and his Hampden Road and everything, but I'm not buying that because Hampden is playing area, so Hampden Park is playing fields, which is, what it is. So lovely Acme. Isle of Lewis. You're up in Scotland. There you go. The Western Isles. Fantastic. Thank you. So Gaelic came later. Yes. And who knows what the Picts spoke. Right. Ross, Glasgow. Yeah, I do more about Glasgow. I hope you know that Govan is named after... Govan! The steelworks are. Govan is named after Gawain, Saint Gawain, who came from South Wales and was actually married to... I'm testing myself now. Tyfalt. Tewdrig. Yeah, Tewdrig, I think, before he married Ombrost. No. Oh, goodness. Anyway, she didn't want to have children or anything like that, I would see, when she went off to Scotland and set up a missionary there. Now, so you get Govan. There you go, a lot more Scottish stuff coming, and English stuff as well. I'm not sure what to do next week. So many ideas springing up. What was what I was going to do I was talking about? Oh, the Orion thing, wasn't I? Should I keep that for Richard Hall, or should I do it here? Oh, I'm so excited, I'm bursting. Right, but anyway, let's just see the end of this. Yes, Cumbric, Cymru, Cymraeg, all the same thing, isn't it? And in England they'd have spoken it as well. Right, good night everyone. Yay, Bach. Thank you, Marshall. I was trying to remember who it was. Thank you, Arnie. Thank you very much, and thank you for producing Leon and Xavier. Team effort tonight, and Angie helped me get the slides together. And if you want to fire away any questions for next week, or suggestions for topics, or any particular areas you want to look at, please put them in the comments, which I always look at. Thank you very much. I'm going to try... Hang on, which button have I got to press now, Leon?
3.
Sure?
Yep, because that's
my
face. That's
okay.
in the middle.
Alright, okay. Well, hold on, press that one, whatever you do. Alright, so till next week. My very much blessings, sending my love out to everyone, and thank you for watching every week. This makes me feel so happy and loved and wanted, and I've leapt back to full health. You have no idea. I'll just stick this in at the end. People talking about this is like, what I've gone through is one of these energy renewal things. It's a bit hippie for some people, but I certainly go for that kind of stuff, and I feel like a new level of awareness and energy and mental things, so full of beans and ready to go. So best wishes to everyone. Till next time, peace. Heather.